Hey, I am going to talk today about the key differences between a cohort style business model, an evergreen model, and a hybrid, which we call the infinite scale delivery model. And we're going to talk about which one is right for your business. How do you set yourself up for success? And then, what are the kind of key differences, the pros and the cons, all the different things around all three of these different models. And then I am going to share with you why I believe that the infinite scale model or the hybrid model is the best model for you as you are trying to grow and scale your online business. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, so each approach has unique benefits and challenges, and so understanding how you're operating or like the rules for each one of them are really important. And then you can look at what do you like from this one? What do you like from that one? And create a hybrid model that tends to serve both your customers as well as you as the creator better as you're moving forward. So, all right, I'm going to break them each one down individually. Okay, so let's start with a cohort experience. The cohort experience really involves enrolling a group of people. So your customers are all coming in at the same time. So there's a specific start date and a specific end date, and you are taking them through an experience together as a group. And so with the cohort model, the best part about this approach is that it really gives you a sense of community and shared experience for your customers and participants. You're sort of putting them in an environment where they feel like they have some accountability from other people, not just you. And so that is definitely a pro of the cohort launch. So you're building a community of people who are going through an experience together, which tends to help it become more sticky because people don't want to let other people down, and they like to see how they fit within kind of a broader community. It's a focused effort, so you can concentrate like all your marketing, all your sales to drive towards starting on a particular date. So it helps you focus. It helps to have that a little bit of sense of urgency or scarcity in there, and so it's just more concentrated in terms of like instant. It's more of an event that you're creating some buzz and excitement around. And there tends to be more engagement because people are going through it together, right? Community, accountability. There's just a different level of energy because people are going through the cohort experience together. So the biggest pro and from my perspective is that there's a start date and an end date. So if you're the type of person who has a hard time sort of getting started, or you honestly haven't launched yet, doing a cohort is a great way to get yourself moving. The other thing is it doesn't have to be completely done and finished before you launch your cohort, which we call a beta launch. So as you're starting to create an online business or create your business, you're creating a test or a prototype to test your model to make sure that what you're teaching, how you're showing up, how you're coaching is actually going to get people results. A cohort style launch is a great way to get yourself in the game. Usually our clients start with an initial beta launch, which is the cohort. And then typically they have 2 to 3 more cohorts before they start moving into another model, just because you need to learn what's working, what's not working, what people are resonating to, how to get people engaged, and how to help them get results before you sort of lock and load it and have it be something that's more evergreen, or more of an asset that you can consistently sell. So the cohort model is a great place to start. It's a great way to learn. And obviously, it's got some additional benefits in terms of community and whatnot. The cons, though, of a cohort launch is that it is time intensive, right? You have to have a lot of planning, a lot of coordination, a lot of things happening in a short period of time. And so it's definitely something that takes up more of your time. It will take more of your time to show up live with a cohort, although I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to deal with that later on in this episode. But it's definitely more time intensive than having it be a continuous launch. And with limited enrollment periods, one of the biggest challenges that people run into is you get a cash infusion, and then you don't get another cash infusion until you launch another cohort. And and so there's sort of this feast or famine roller coaster that's happening. And we want to iron that out. We want to make sure that you're having reoccurring revenue coming in. And when you're doing a cohort launch, depending upon how often you're doing it, that definitely plays into that part of the experience. And so again, like the ideal for this is to use it to launch your beta and then to kind of get your system functioning consistently to the point where you can start to sell and deliver consistently. All right, so the second model is the Evergreen experience. And the Evergreen experience allows participants to enroll and start the course or program or whatever you've got going on, coaching program, at any time. Generally, it's pre-recorded and available on demand, meaning people can jump into it at any point in time. There's not a specific start or end date. And so you have that continuous enrollment. You can scale that asset because it's already created. So you create it once, and then you can sell it and deliver it over and over and over again, right? So that's the benefit of an evergreen experience. And there's tons of flexibility for you in terms of how you're supporting your customers. Flexibilities for your customers that they can access it at any time, right? Like at their own pace, or just on their own schedule, wherever they are. So definitely some advantages of that. With the cohort, there's typically a specific time people are meeting, right? So it's like Thursdays at 1:00. With an evergreen launch, they can jump into the content at any point in time and watch it at their convenience. So that's definitely a pro of the evergreen experience. So the cons of the evergreen experience are pretty much the opposite of all of the pros, right? So it's continuous enrollment, which means that there may not be a sense of urgency for people to actually take action and join the experience. It's scalable, which is awesome, but you have to make sure that you're scaling the right experience. What tends to happen for a lot of my creators who love to be involved, they love to be included in the customer's journey, helping them get to success. When you have an evergreen launch, a con of this is that if you aren't helping them and you have that desire, then you are either going to go and create a bunch of other things, or you're going to insert yourself at weird times. And so it's not going to be a consistent experience. The other cons is the initial setup. And again, like the way that we teach people how to do this, if you're going to do an evergreen launch, is start with the cohort launch, do that in beta, and then move it into an evergreen product that allows you to handle that setup time. So yes, it's much more, and in fact, we don't recommend that you build it and then try and sell it, right? You want to co-create it with your perfect customers and then move it into an evergreen launch if you're going in that direction. And so you have to just sort of figure out what makes the most sense for you in terms of a cohort, an evergreen experience, or the third option, which is my favorite, and obviously we've built a business around it, which is the infinite scale experience, or that hybrid experience. So you're taking the best of the cohort model and the best of the evergreen model and smushing them together to make a hybrid experience, which means that you're taking the systems, the strategies, and sort of the growth model of both of them, and being able to deliver an awesome experience while also maximizing and leveraging the time that you're spending with people. And so the great thing about this approach is you can have people continuously come in but it's a structured curriculum. So people are coming in, they're learning in a sort of an evergreen curriculum status, right? Like they're going through the curriculum that you have set out for them that you've already created. And then they can jump into a live component to get their questions answered, to get coaching, to get accountability and like all the things, community, uh, at the same time while they're going through the experience. So one of the biggest challenges of a cohort launch is that you're continuously teaching over and over and over again, right? So you show up at a specific time, you're teaching, and then you're answering questions or you're working with people or workshopping or doing whatever, but you're repeating the same thing over and over again. So if you do a cohort 4 times a year, 12 times a year, you're repeating everything that you're doing every single time you have a new cohort that comes in. Once you can structure all of the sort of the learning, the actions that they need to take, all of the foundational elements that go into replacing you showing up live, teaching your thing every single time. What that does is it gives you the flexibility to show up and actually solve big problems with your people or help them remove obstacles or hurdles that they're having along the way, help with mindset, have, all the different things that you can help with. Like that is a really high level use of your time, is to have those accountability conversations or coaching conversations or Q&A or group experiences or workshops or whatever. It gives you the freedom to be able to have those because you're not spending all of your time reteaching. And so in the hybrid experience, you're doing both. You're showing up when you need to show up, and you're structuring a curated experience for your people that helps them like come in where they are, get what they need, and then get the support along with him. So it's such a powerful way to build the business because it's offering flexibility and community at the same time, right? So you have flexibility over, they can show up whenever, you can show up whenever. You're not like spending all of your time in one-on-one calls or cohort calls. You're not spending all of your time building evergreen assets. You're really having that balanced workload. So it gives you that opportunity to have a consistent experience, create a consistent experience, and then deliver it. It offers scalability with a personal touch, which I really love because you're taking that evergreen model, layering in a personalized approach that allows people to connect, right? Like people want connection and they want to know that somebody is paying attention, you as a coach or the community or however you structure it, so that it gives them a really that balanced approach, but it gives them a holistic view of how they're going to help themselves get to the transformation that they want to get to. And that is where it becomes really powerful. And then consistency, like you're able to build a consistent model that somebody can jump into at any point in time, get what they need, follow the path, get support and help, and then keep moving forward. And so it provides you with the clarity and confidence to be able to have your thing and to get to drive people to results, but it also helps your customers and your clients know exactly how to get there. The cons of a hybrid launch, that you still need to have sort of coordination in terms of when somebody comes in, how are they getting dropped into the right place? And so one of the things we work with our clients on is like, here's how you set up your customer journey, and here's how you set up your personalized in somewhat customized learning path for your people, depending on where they're coming in. And so when you have your experience map and you have a way to figure out in an automated fashion where someone is and what they need to get to the results, you're able to literally get somebody results without you having to constantly be with them all the time. But that coordination, like that requires planning, that requires really understanding the journey and the steps to go from point A to point B, which we talk about as your signature methodology. And then knowing how to get somebody there, right? Like, where are the hurdles that they're going to run into along the path? How do you knock those down without without them experiencing them, right? And so looking at that, and then how to make sure that, like, if somebody's coming in at the, by themselves or whatever, instead of a cohort, how are you engaging them, right? Like, how do they know that they can show up? How do you communicate with them all the options when you're not doing that live? So again, like, that's all solved with technology once you've mapped out the entire journey that somebody goes on. So again, that's something that we help our clients kind of figure that out. Okay, so overall, that is definitely, like, my favorite strategy is the hybrid strategy, because it gives you a sense of being involved in helping your customers and having a consistent experience or asset that you can run people through, so that you're not recreating it all of the time. Okay, so 5 key strategies if you decide that the hybrid or infinite scale experience is the right one for you. Is that number one is, once you've mapped out your customer experience and you've looked at, like, how do I help people go from point A to point B, then you need to develop a robust onboarding system. So how do people, like, what happens when they purchase? What do they need to know about when they first come in? How do they get access to your platform? How do they navigate through your platform? What are the expectations? I always think about this, like, if you're going to a live event, right? A training or a workshop or something else. Like, the very first thing that you always get when you go to that is like, hey, everybody, here's the agenda. Here's where the bathrooms are. Here's where you can go to do this. Here's where you can find food or drinks or whatever else that you need, right? Like, there's just a moment in time where the facilitator pauses and says, hey, I know that you may, be thinking about this in your head, and acknowledging it, right? The other thing is, like, most of the time when you walk into a workshop or a training, that instructor or facilitator is going to come up and introduce themselves to you, right? Hey, I'm so and so. So great to have you here today. Thanks for showing up. Just a little simple introduction makes a huge difference. And then kind of giving people the rules of the road. Like, I'm not going to stop every, 40 minutes so we have a bathroom break, right? Like, if you have to go to the bathroom, just get up and go. It's just down the hall, no problem. Come back in. Like, people need to know what the norms are going to be for the day. It's exactly the same thing when you're talking about creating an onboarding system. It doesn't matter if it's online or offline. You need to give people the rules of the road. Like, here's how we meet. Here's where you can schedule a call. Here's how you log in. Here's how you navigate around to all the various places. So really sit down and create that robust onboarding system. Again, if you're in Learn Academy, in our mentorship program, there's a whole training on how to build your onboarding system. And so it takes you through from that initial purchase all the way to somebody feeling really comfortable coming in and knowing how to navigate through your system. Okay, number 2, schedule regular live events. So often, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is that they are like, oh, I want to have, office hours or Q&A calls, and they have them, like, at random times. And so they're trying to be available for their customers. And so, maybe they have one Tuesdays at 9 and Thursdays at 2 and Saturdays at noon. So while that's great, what it does is it confuses people, right? And so if you're going to have those 3 calls, don't have 3 calls, first of all, but if you're going to have 3 calls, great. But then every single week it's the same. Don't change them up. So what we recommend is, like, one Q&A call every week or every month or every other week, or however you want to structure it. And it's always at this time on this day. People want to know when to show up, right? They want consistency. And if they have to constantly hunt around, it's too chaotic. Now, there's always times where maybe you're out of the office, or you're on vacation, or you're doing something else and you have to make a change. Great. But overall, try and make something super consistent so they know what to expect and they know when to show up. So just put them on your calendar for the year and see how close you can get to being consistent. So we have an office hour call on Thursdays at 1:00, and it's always at Thursdays at 1:00. And so people know that if they have a question, if they need coaching, if they need to talk to me, they're going to talk to me at Thursday at 1:00, so they can plan their week. If I every week just send out random times that I'm available, that's not going to help somebody plan, and you're just adding more chaos. And so you want to eliminate the chaos in the form of all, they've got enough going on. Learning and doing something new takes a lot of brain calories. So they have enough going on. They don't need to try and hunt around and figure out where to go to meet and what the timing is. Okay, number 3 is leverage automated communication. This is critical, is that when you're first starting and you're trying to figure this game out and you're doing your cohort, it's a great time to start documenting, like, when do I want to send an email? When do I want to notify people of different things that are happening? How do I want to help people stay engaged, and maybe send out various messages that keep them motivated, or check-ins or whatever. That is the time for you to start documenting that so that you can use the technology to send those follow-ups. But your eye should always be on, like, how do I set up consistent communication based on how you want them to go through the experience, right? So you go back to your journey map and you're like, okay, this is when I want to communicate with them. This is, I want them to be notified that they've done certain things or whatever else, right? So always think about, how do you make that a consistent experience? Once it's consistent, then you can automate it. And so that in and of itself will change your life, because instead of sending out ad hoc random emails, you are able to schedule those. I remember when we were running the agency and we had 1 or 2 emails we sent every single time we started a new project. And my project manager was creating those emails every single time. And I'm like, but isn't this email basically the same for every customer that we onboard? Like, aren't you just sending the same message? And he was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing. And I'm like, great, that's awesome, because we can put that into an automation. And when you have that customer and you're ready for that email to go out, we can schedule that email to go out, and you don't have to rewrite it every single time. He literally was like sitting down and crafting the email each and every time we had a customer, instead of just using kind of the pre-written template that he had created. So again, think about that from that perspective. The 4th thing is create an online experience platform. So this is super critical in the sense of, like, a lot of times people think, okay, well, I'm just going to put my course assets in a membership site and, just like create a bunch of videos and throw them out there. When instead what you're doing is you're creating an experience for people and putting it into a platform that allows them to go through that experience in the way that you want them to, so that they can get results and have a great experience, right? So you're planning every aspect of that. So it's not just videos. It's a place for them to interact. It's a place for them to ask questions. It's a place for them to connect and share with other people. The more you make it a supportive and collaborative environment with the various training assets that you have in there, the more it becomes sticky for them, the more that they're in there. Like, imagine if Facebook was just a bunch of videos, right? Nobody would go in there. It's the curated experience that brings people back over and over and over again. And then the fifth thing is like gather and implement feedback, constantly being asking for feedback. What's working, what's not working, how can I add this, what's missing, like all the things. When you're doing a cohort launch, this is really easy because you're going to have your super fans who are going through it with you, especially in your beta launch. When you're moving to this more hybrid experience, it's building that in as part of the entire experience is helping them be able to give you feedback. It'll make a huge difference in how your experience sort of is living and breathing. Okay, so that is the difference, the pros and the cons, the strategies for how do you build the right business model that will help you scale. And again, like I strongly believe that the hybrid or infinite scale method and model is going to be the one that's going to scale, because regardless of how many people you put into that model, you're not adding additional time, right? You're not like going to max out in time like you would if you were doing one-on-one, or even when you're doing cohort. Like you can't do thousands and thousands of people in a cohort. It doesn't work that way because there's so much teaching and showing up live. Nothing is necessarily consistent, right? And so Evergreen will give you that, but most of the time you're not engaged in the experience, and so it's not helping you and it's not serving your customers, because ultimately at the end of the day your customers are going to need some accountability and some coaching to get past some of the obstacles and hurdles that they're going to have along the way. So your retention rates are going to be a lot higher with a hybrid model, and you're going to be able to continue to grow and scale. So there you go. That is the differences between the launches, and it will help you not only grow your business, be in the right business model that will help support you and your customers, but it's going to help your customers become more successful so that they're getting results, they're moving up in levels, and they're staying with you because you have been able to create a curated experience that moves them to the next phase. So there you go. If you're interested in talking more about the hybrid or infinite scale model, if it sounds like, oh, you've got one or two of the other models and you're not quite sure how to put them together and what that looks like, give me a shout. The bottom of this, in the show notes or in the video or in the blog, wherever you're looking at this, there should be a link to schedule a free discovery call. And then we can talk about like, what model are you in? Maybe you don't know. Maybe you're just sort of grabbing things from each model and you're not exactly sure how they all fit together so that you can leverage your time and attention. It's a great way to kind of figure that out, is to jump into that free discovery call. So I look forward to speaking with you. And in the meantime, really determine like which model are you following and which one makes the most sense for you and your business. All right, have a great day.